Greetings everyone, welcome back to another gunpla video, and I was just about to sit down to do the Gundam Barbatos Lupus, the 1/100 full mechanics version, the review of that, but I forgot last night to panel line it, so I thought, hey, I might as well show how I panel line these kits. Basically, I'm totally lazy and I have to do so many of these all the time that I have to blast through it really quick. So this is how to panel line a Gundam the easy and lazy way. Okay, so in here I've pretty much everything built. Because this has an inner frame, I haven't assembled everything. I've just built the parts, all the armor parts, and put them in the bags that the runners came in. So like the left arm, right arm, stuff like that. Basically it's so I can show the inner frame first and then the armor parts attached to it. So this large section of leg armor right here will make an absolutely perfect example. Basically we've got a whole bunch of panel lines here and here and here that you can't really see so much as it is. In person you can, in the camera not so much, but of course paneling that is really going to make all those parts pop. Some people use black on white. It's a really harsh contrast and I really don't like that. Usually what I would go with is just your standard grey panel liner. So basically what I do now is I just get right in there. Usually I'm not this far away from it. If you make mistakes like I'm doing right now, it doesn't matter at all. Just throw it in there as quickly as possible. Again, my arms are really outstretched right now to get past the camera, so it's a little shakier than I would usually do it, but yeah, basically just get everything in there as quick as possible. You can just wipe it off afterwards. I mean, look at that right there, absolutely expert work. And then just get an eraser and just rub all that crap off. So just rub it like that, and it just insta cleans up. So there you go, a very nice, clean panel line in absolutely no time whatsoever. There's absolutely no point in kind of going around so slowly and specifically, painstakingly going through each line when you can just like scribble it on and then rub it off. As long as you're rubbing with one of the flat sides of the eraser, you're never going to rub away your panel line because it's well in there. So you can be fairly ham-fisted with that as well. And there we go, it pretty much looks like that. Super quick and super easy. As for these sections here, you can either just do it while they're in there or you can just pop out the part. I find it's easier and cleaner to just pop it out. Again, on yellow, I will use the light gray and basically just get it in those sections there like so. Don't forget these ones here. Again, don't be afraid to just scribble that on. Definitely not. These kind of recessed parts here, again, they're not a panel line. Neither are those there. You're really just highlighting the edges. So with that again, use the cotton bud and clean that up. Pretty much just like that there. If you feel that's a little bit too messy, you can go over it again and kind of like make those lines a little bit sharper, but if you prefer this kind of blurred out, airbrushy kind of look, you can just leave it like that. These are vents, so as far as I'm concerned, they'd look a little bit burnt from whatever intake or output or whatever thing comes from those, so I leave these as messy as possible. Not too messy, just not too perfect. So now that is the other side, and pretty much that's it done. Just stick it back in there where it came from, just like so. So pretty much that's it, simple. So next up then another section, this is a flat one. So these here are panel lines, so this, I just scribble them in and eraser. These here aren't. You're just highlighting the edge of a part. So this, I'll just scribble that in and then use the cotton bud. So basically, scribble, 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 scribble. If you're going to use the eraser, let it dry. It's easier to rub off that way. You could always use this first for a bit of a cleanup while it's wet, but that's just adding an extra point that you don't really need. And as for a section like this, you could basically just fill it in like that, or what I do is I fill the entire thing in, kind of darker around the edges and a little lighter in the center. Again, as lazy and as quick as possible, and kind of the same up here. Maybe just around the edges, whatever you're feeling. Just remember to do it the same on the other side. And then just use the cotton bud to kind of just like clean that out. And same with the section up here. Leave that section then just to dry out a little bit while you like jump onto something else. This red section of the shoulder, and I don't panel line red in gray usually. Let's see what it looks like if I do. Actually that looks good, I think black will be too strong. Okay, I'll stick with the gray. So again, just throw that into the panel lines. Remember, actual panel lines, like etched lines, just throw that in really quickly. Let it dry out and then use the eraser. Little sections that outcrop like that there, I like to just basically fill in around that, maybe with a big thick line, and then using your cotton bud moving out the way, just kind of fade that out. Like that. If you want, I usually am not really arsed, you can clean it up a little bit more like that. And the same goes to these parts that kind of recess in like this. So that goes in at a bit of an angle, a bit of a slope or slant. So I fill that in like that and then kind of scribble this section like so. And then again, fade that out with a bit of a gradient. So take the majority of that off and rub it like that away from it, and that highlights that very nicely. Maybe clean up that little section there like that with the eraser. So like I said, I usually don't use grey on red, and I do feel that is a little too light, so I'm going to redo it all with black. So there it is with grey. I'm going to put black here on the right so you can kind of see it before and after. And the black looks better on red. So usually, like I said, I tend to use black on red, white on grey, and yellow. As for the blues, I go with the black. Anything darker than black, like the frame here, I don't even bother with. It really isn't worth the effort. Like, the amount of time I would have to put into that isn't worth it. But anyway, with blue, I use black because it's the only thing that really works. So there we are. With some panel lines, just throw that in really quickly. Some nice panel lining on this kit. Someone mentioned that the full mechanics in the last video, the unboxing, that the full mechanics refers to the design on the armor, but I think that's a bit much to name it something like different, like full mechanics, just for some armor related parts. Because as it does look good, I don't really think it deserves a name all that different from the last 1/100s we saw. Okay, so there's those lines done. I really do feel this needs a bit of a differentiation in here. So what I do is I basically just scribble in some black around the edge, and I really mean just scribble that in there. Then take your cotton bud and just fade that out. And there we go, looking pretty good for something so super lazy. So there is that section from before, and basically that is dried out now, so I just hit it with the eraser. Just try to remove the majority of that ugly looking grey, but while trying to maintain a fairly nice fade, just by moving away from it like this. Same down here. You just kind of want to get the middle out of that while retaining the shading around the outside and just kind of lay into it a bit. Hit up those panel lines there. You can leave it as dark or as messy as you like, but I prefer to get rid of the vast majority of it and just leave the outside parts with a slight bit of a fade. Basically something along the lines of that. And finally, the last thing I would say, and this is the laziest approach, is pick your panel lines. Like for example, there's next to no point in going through all the stuff on the bottom of the feet unless you plan to have him with his feet right out in front of him. Or should I say it out in front of it. It's not a dude. And same with the back. Usually, and you may notice this in some of my reviews, I don't bother panel lining the back. The back gets maybe 5 to 10% of screen time. The focus really is on the front. So I never ever bother panel lining the back. That is just for reviews. But of course, if you want the whole thing panel lined, you can, but if you're going to display it, you're never going to display it pointing backwards, are you? So that is it for what was basically a tutorial on how to panel line your gunpla the lazy way. This right here is pretty much how you get the most effect for your time. Less time and more of an effect. Basically, if you don't panel line your gunpla, they look a little bit crappy. But if you're building like 1, 2, 3 a week, you don't want to be spending hours on it. So just blast through the important parts like this and it'll look great. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. And make sure to come back for the review, which may actually be up before this. I think it will be. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.